So we have Kratos, the literal god slayer, going up against beings that typically would be considered opposite of gods, demons, and not just any demons, but the most powerful demons that Dante has faced in the Devil May Cry series. Can the ghosts of Sparta defeat the demons that Dante fights? This would include Virgil, Arkham wielding the Sword of Sparta, Mundus, Argisax, and Urizen. I will be referencing material from my Kratos, Dante, Virgil, and Nero videos. If you haven't seen them, I recommend you check them out. We will be using End of God of War Ragnarok Kratos with the equipment he wields and the feats he has up to this point, just like my Kratos video. As for the setting, we are going to pit Kratos up against these enemies in the same exact situation that Dante was when he faced them. Let's get into it. In Devil May Cry 3, Kratos faces off against Dante's twin brother, Virgil. At this point, Virgil has his Devil Trigger ability, the Devil Arm Beowulf, and the Yamato. This weapon is capable of cutting space-time itself. Let's say that Virgil is able to pierce Kratos with the Yamato. Will Kratos survive? Kratos has survived the Blade of Olympus, which killed Zeus, who defeated all of the Titans, including Kronos, who overthrew their primordial ancestors, which are the ones that created the God of War universe, at least for the Greek era. Meaning that Kratos can endure the Yamato. It isn't going to be pleasant, but he can take it. Now, if we lowball Kratos' speed to be infinite because of speed feats with Hermes dodging Helios' light, then Virgil is going to be too fast for Kratos and Kratos stops here. But if we take into account what I mentioned in the Kratos video, that with space and time not existing until the Titan leader Kronos created it, then they would be in the immeasurable speed category just like the beings from Devil May Cry. Since they are able to move without the concept of time, then with what I mentioned earlier on the Titans defeating the Primordials, to the Greek gods defeating them, to Kratos defeating the most powerful and fastest gods, this would say that Kratos is able to hang with these insane demons. Now that we can say in this case, sure, Kratos is on equal terms and can endure the Yamato itself if they are on the same dimensionality. This doesn't take into account peak of combat, noting that a human soul is 9D or 9th dimensional. On the note of souls, this obviously can be taken as an individual's soul is 9th dimensional and not necessarily the individual's attack potency or durability would be at 9th dimensional level, along with how the underworld is going to be a higher dimension compared to Devil May Cry's human world, which would be a normal 3D universe. But for the sake of entertainment in this video, let's also assume that this means the fact that it's the soul of the beings and that the underworld is another 3D dimension. Because if we left it at 9D scaling for DMC, Kratos has feats that put him into 5D category and needs 4 more dimensions of more than infinite layers of power separating each dimension. Then Kratos would not get very far in this lineup. Now, with Devil May Cry 3 Virgil having the Yamato and Beowulf in his arsenal, one thing about Beowulf is that they are considered immeasurable in power, which Kratos would be able to handle as well, since he easily overwhelmed Atlas, who was forced to hold the entire heavens, and Atlas was not as powerful as Kronos or Zeus. With the fact that this is without Kratos' Spartan rage and his significant battle experience over Devil May Cry 3 Virgil and what we just went over, Kratos can take this victory. Continuing through Devil May Cry 3, Arkham would obtain the Sword of Sparta. While they did force Dante to work with Virgil, he was defeated by them. At this point, Dante himself doesn't have any unique feats outside of being relative to Virgil, who we just described to this point, and the Sparta brothers defeating Beowulf, who we talked about earlier. While it is impressive that Arkham forced Dante to this point, he got completely ran over when Virgil and Dante worked together. I'm going to note again that Kratos would be able to defeat Arkham in this state, as he himself couldn't contain this power, and Kratos has defeated beings like Ares, the original god of war. This is the same Ares that was considered powerful enough to defeat Athena, Artemis, and Poseidon, where Poseidon is noted to be the second most powerful god, second only to Zeus, after Ares' death, meaning that Ares would be above most, if not all of the Titans like Atlas and their primordial ancestors that literally created the God of War universe, including their infinite underworld. Fast forwarding in the Devil May Cry series to Kratos fighting Mundus at the end of Devil May Cry 1. Mundus was the king of the underworld who was more powerful than Dante at this point, but with the help of Trish was able to send Mundus away. At this point, Dante was able to defeat Nightmare 3 times, the demon created by Mundus who was stated to be powerful enough to destroy the endless-sized underworld. When Mundus and Dante fight, Mundus created his own dimension and the two would have a cosmic battle. Even with Mundus creating his own dimension in his fight with Dante, Kratos has feats above beings that created their own universes, like I stated, with defeating primordials like Thanatos, defeating titans like Kronos or Atlas, who defeated the most powerful primordial, Uranus, and defeating Zeus, who was above all of them. We still have Kratos defeating beings like Nidhogg, who would gnaw on the World Tree, and it is noted to be such a force to be reckoned with that when it got into conflicts, it would make the World Tree quake, where it is also noted that each strand of the World Tree is considered to be beyond space and time itself and is rooted together by the 9 realms, which are truly different realms, as we can see in God of War Ragnarok, 2 realms, Niflheim and Muspelheim, and where they meet is shown by Surtar. Did I also mention that Kratos was able to flip Tyr's temple, which Mimir states to be rooted to the same 9 realms? Mimir, the smartest man alive, who used to be the advisor to the All-Father Odin, making this statement an unbelievable feat that Kratos was able to achieve. So before we get into Argisax, I would like to note that Mundus and Argisax are implied to be relevant to each other in power, as Argisax was able to split the underworld forces to decide between joining Mundus and joining Argisax. With this, Argisax is no slouch. The reason he gets bodied by Dante in Devil May Cry 2 is because between Devil May Cry 1 and Devil May Cry 2, Dante gets leaps and bounds stronger, with help from the Devil May Cry 2 novel that helps support this. Let me know if I should make a video on that. So if I am to say that Kratos defeats Mundus, then he certainly will defeat Argisax as well. But let's not forget, Argisax is a being that is able to warp reality along with being able to mess with time itself. Fast forwarding to Devil May Cry 5, we have the most powerful demon that Dante has ever fought, this being Urizen. This demon is the demonic half of Virgil and effortlessly defeated the entire Devil May Cry roster, including Dante in his Devil Trigger form, wielding the Sword of Sparta. To clarify just how powerful base Urizen is, he effortlessly bodied Dante. This is the same Dante that defeated Mundus in Devil May Cry 1, would go on to defeat Void Mundus from an alternate universe, who was the embodiment of the underworld. This Void Mundus got destroyed by Dante, who then would go on to fight Chen the Cannibal, who had infinite knowledge and could see the future, which included being able to clash with Dante because Chen had Sparta's swordsmanship, and Dante cut his head in half. Urizen was an absolute beast and would only get stronger. Let's go over that real quick. So after Urizen defeated everyone in the DMC crew, Urizen would be feeding on human blood for a month, and at this point would be even stronger than before. Then finally, Urizen would get a Qlipoth fruit, which like I mentioned earlier is what propelled Mundus to become the king of the underworld. In my Virgil video, we go over how Urizen created beings like Artemis and Cavalier, who are considered more powerful than their metaphysical versions, which would mean that the metaphysical versions that V fought are considered outside of space and time, making them above reality. To add to this, these beings don't hold a candle to Urizen, as Nero was able to defeat Artemis and would only be capable of cutting Urizen's hand before ultimately being defeated by Urizen. Now, can Kratos fight this demon? So we're at a point where Urizen, while I believe they are more powerful, this isn't the only factor in a fight. The other things like speed, experience, abilities, or equipment are going to help define the winner. So Urizen is equipped with the Yamato, which he mostly used as a shield and didn't use its cutting power. He's also incredibly arrogant. This Kratos is much more composed, wants to end fights quickly, and isn't going to make significant mistakes. With Kratos being able to endure several fights with an invulnerable Baldur who 3-tapped the World Serpent, would also fight and defeat Thor, who was equipped with Mjolnir, who right before their fight would fight the World Serpent, and Thor would have such a powerful strike that he would send the World Serpent back in time with his strength and the hammer. This goes to show how resilient and battle-hardened Kratos is, which will be important to compare to a Qlipoth-consumed Urizen. Along with this, Kratos is equipped with incredible gear. His Blades of Chaos literally were able to ignite hell where fire cannot exist, and was created by the primordial flames. Where Nero was able to get past the Yamato crystal with their strength, no Devil Trigger, and a manufactured Red Queen, I believe it's entirely possible for Kratos with the Leviathan, the Blades of Chaos, and Dropnir to break through the crystal, but with how large the disparity is for beginning Devil May Cry 5 Dante against base Urizen, then the same Urizen a month later is only growing in power, to then have another leap in power with the Qliphotep fruit, even with the nerfs we're going over in Devil May Cry, I don't believe Kratos wins this fight. Urizen was the only enemy Dante had faced that utterly destroyed him in their fight. Sure, Chen did break a limb or two, but Dante literally was sent into a coma by Urizen and didn't chase him because he thought Dante was insignificant. Let me know what you think of the video, and don't forget to subscribe. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.